Before moving on to the next question, I'd like to make a statement about the issue of illegal immigration. My country has been invaded. I intend to see that the invaders are repatriated and a new immigration policy addressing both legal and illegal immigration established. This assault on sovereign land has continued unabated for decades and now greatly accelerated by a lawless placeholder. Regardless, it's squarely an issue for which both Republicans and Democrats are 100% culpable and will pay for their intransigence by being completely removed from the discussion. They will not be allowed to kick this can down the road again. So today, on behalf of Americans, I will outline my prescribed course of action. Question?
First citizen.
First citizen, please be specific about that quote-unquote course of action.
The vague notion of a pathway to citizenship is to be replaced by a well-oiled machine called the Repatriation Express, or the RE, or RepEx. The RE will consist of local law enforcement determining one's legality within the country, and the resources of the federal government committed to expeditious deportation. And I mean from local arrest to handoff or transportation toward the deportee's foreign destination within 72 hours. The federal government gets logistics. Look how fast they can put an Abrams tank and support staff on the ground halfway around the globe. Next.
First citizen, are you talking about a mass roundup or self-deportation?
Largely the latter. Even lawbreakers can be presumed to act on their own self-interest at times, take away the incentive to stay here, and they'll leave. Once the mechanics are in place, enforcement will consist of the local sheriff, or police in his absence, challenging anyone in public for proof of citizenship. Initially, the challenge will be based completely on whether a person is speaking a language other than English. If proof of citizenship, or other recognized legal status, cannot be verified on the spot, the individual is arrested and handed off for transport. Before the handoff, the individual's landlord, employer, cell phone provider, bank, or wire transfer entity, and electric utility will be identified. Each will be fined $50,000. Proceeds pay for the local enforcement activity and becomes a local government profit center. Next question.
First citizen. Don't you think the economy would nosedive with a sudden removal of all illegal aliens from the workforce?
The primary non-underground private sector economic aspects to this exodus are: 1, employers who lose employees due to terminations to avoid being fined or employee self-deportation, and 2, the loss to businesses that currently cater to day-to-day needs of millions of illegal aliens. I'll address the first aspect. Gainfully employed illegal aliens will be allowed to remain in the country temporarily under the first phase of a new guest worker program. Highlights of the new guest worker program are as follows. Pre-screened foreign workers will apply for the program in their native lands and be matched to employers making requests from the eligibility list. Minimum conditions for entering the guest worker program will be demonstrated English fluency, a clean health record, a clean criminal record, and high school equivalent education. Employers will not pay the guest worker directly, but into a fund set up for payroll dispersal. That is, no more wiring money out of the country. From this fund, all expenses associated with correcting the current illegal alien problem and managing the new guest worker program will be covered. Guest workers will be provided identification that also works as a debit card to cover necessary in-country expenses. The guest worker must return to his native land to cash out any balance in his payroll account. So, in essence, for the time being, If you like your guest worker, you can keep your guest worker. However, the cheap labor and vote rigging scams perpetuated by the Republicans and Democrat, respectively, are over, will be dismantled, and the damage reversed. Next.
First citizen, to what extent does this approach affect legal immigration?
Under the circumstances, this Congress and titular head of the executive branch have no business discussing legal immigration until the illegal immigration problem is solved to the satisfaction of Americans. The Republicans and Democrats no longer make a distinction between legal and illegal immigration. Further, the distinctly separate issues of the country's need for additional citizenry and the need for guest workers have been completely scuttled. I intend to reestablish these distinctions. Immigration, legal or illegal, cannot cost the U.S. taxpayer a dime and must not alter the demographic makeup of the country. Other than short visits for business or tourism, legal immigration is to be halted completely until such time as the damage done by the stupid party and the evil party has been corrected. A new immigration policy will initially be built around reciprocity. For instance, at the most basic level, citizenship swap between countries will be a zero-sum game. Next question.
First citizen, do you really begrudge immigrants for wanting to flee their native lands in search of a better life in the United States?
This global notion that if you can get here, you can stay here, must be completely dispelled. In the American view, every time an illegal crosses the border, citizenship gets worth just a little less. There's considerable opinion that U.S. citizenship has become worthless solely due to this policy disaster. To get the ball rolling, effective today, anchor babies will not receive citizenship, no further swearing in of applicants for citizenship, no refugees or those seeking political asylum will be accepted, no visas honored, and any person crossing the border illegally will be tagged as ineligible for future citizenship and shortlisted for a mandatory 10. Additionally, visa overstays who wish to exit the country with any assets must do so by the end of this calendar year. Next question.
First citizen, if this situation is not cleaned up to the satisfaction of the Americans in the very near future, what do you foresee?
The political party's failure to craft an immigration policy reflecting the country's best interest and the federal government's failure to enforce existing law will beget lawlessness. Plain and simple. The foreign content scofflaws have realized there is no penalty for disregarding immigration law and are pushing the envelope in other areas. The law-abiding have awakened to the fact that they are being played for nothing more than a bunch of saps and must now consider compliance with federal law in general as CO, for circumstance optional. Americans share the belief that the federal government has but a few core responsibilities, and border security is paramount. The upside of this disaster is that the Republicans and Democrats have put the spotlight on their illegitimacy to govern and the dysfunctionality of the federal government as currently organized.
First citizen.
Next.
First citizen, don't you think a fence is all that's needed?
If you want to see how fast a fence can go up, just wait and see how the Mexican government reacts when 20 million deportees start streaming across their northern border. Turnabout is fair play. I think we are likely to see the Mexican border states petitioning for U.S. statehood as a result. Wouldn't that have been the better approach towards citizenship all along? Next.
For citizen, the majority in this country have failed to get Washington's attention on this issue. How do you intend to get your point across?
Since it's moneyed special interests that have kept this long, festering issue from resolution, it's going to be money that facilitates my solution. if my words ring true with you, I want you to register your sentiment immediately by making a donation at firstcitizen.us. If you are uncertain as to the appropriate amount, use your 2015 federal tax refund as a guide. The Republicans and Democrats will never afford the populace an opportunity to take immigration policy to referendum, let alone take any action. I am. Right now, you have the opportunity to register dissatisfaction with the current immigration policy. This action will send a powerful message with many more times the impact than a meaningless trip to the polls. No longer will Americans underwrite failed policy, the likes of which you'd expect from promoting the class dunce to headmaster.